Welcome to the Journal Editorial Report. I'm Paul Gigot. Well, as ISIS continues to advance in Syria and Iraq with its sights set on Baghdad, the Obama administration is showing little sign of changing course, with Defense Secretary Ash Carter blaming the recent fall of Ramadi on the Iraqi army showing, quote, no will to fight. And White House Press Secretary Josh Earnest telling Fox News that the U.S. is not responsible for saving Iraq from the terror group.
Our strategy is to support the Iraqi security forces in doing what we will not do for them. The United States is prepared to train them, to equip them, and to back them on the battlefield with coalition military air power as they take the fight to ISIL in their own country. The United States is not going to be responsible for securing the security situation inside of Iraq.
Joining the panel this week, Wall Street Journal columnist and deputy editor Dan Henninger, Global View columnist Brett Stevens, and editorial board member Joe Rago. So, Dan, it doesn't look to me like they are showing signs of changing course. Do you see any evidence that they might? Because the current strategy does not seem to be working.
I don't think the Obama administration has any intention of changing course. And if that is the case, I mean, Josh Earnest could not have been more emphatic in that statement, then I think one has to turn to alternative explanations. And I think one that we do have to consider
for why they're not changing.
For why they're not changing course is that the Obama administration expects their partner in the Middle East, i.e. Iran, to take the lead in southern Iraq. It's a Shiite combination of Iran and southern Iraq, and to fight ISIS. In other words, they have just regarded Iran as somebody with whom they can do business, even though General Soleimani, the head of the Quds forces, attacked the United States this week, is saying they're not doing a damn thing for the Iraqis.
But the price of that, Brett, would be significant strategically, because it would mean that would give the opportunity, if we depended on the Shiite militias in Iraq to fight ISIS.
Right.
We would ceding to them and Iran a big chunk of influence over Iran.
Right. The administration is making two fundamental mistakes here. One of them is the idea that if you're being really hard-headed about this, well, if Shiite militias are fighting it out with ISIL in a country like Iraq, we're all winners, and let it go on forever.
There's
a kind of a balance of power, and it contains itself. What we learned from the Iran-Iraq War of the 1980s is that these countries come out of these long wars more vicious, more emboldened, more capable. But the larger problem with what the administration is doing is it's pretending that this is somehow a problem that pertains to Iraq and Iraq alone, not to us. The reason we need to confront ISIS isn't to stand up the government in Baghdad. We need to confront ISIS because it is attracting 25,000 foreign fighters, including many Americans, and these people are going to come back to Western countries. This terror is going to spread if we're not able to stop it there.
If you're the President of the United States and you do what President Obama did in September, as you say, our goal, our strategy is to destroy and degrade and destroy ISIS. And then within a year, you haven't made any progress there. In fact, they have advanced. Then you have demonstrated American weakness, and you enhance the elan, the attractiveness of ISIS.
Well, that's exactly right. And now we're seeing a number of lengthy magazine stories, one in the New Yorker quite recently, about what is attracting these young people all over the world to ISIS. Well, it's success. They are the strong horse, as bin Laden said many years ago, in this race in the Middle East. It makes matters worse that the administration keeps arguing that we're winning against ISIS when there's so much powerful evidence to the contrary, that this is a group that's winning on both fronts.
Dan, how big a threat are we going to see to Baghdad itself? I mean, because this has echoes for those of us who remember to the fall of Saigon. Could we see a black ISIS flag over the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad?
I think it's entirely possible. We have to look at what happened in Ramadi. When ISIS went into Ramadi, they set off 6 or 7 tremendous truck bombs.
Size of the Oklahoma City bomb.
Prime Minister al-Abadi of Iraq said it was as though a nuclear bomb had gone off. Totally disruptive. They can go into Baghdad and at least start doing that sort of thing that causes complete chaos inside the city. And at that point, it's hard to predict whether we would be able to defend, say, the American embassy.
I want to go now to the domestic politics of this, Joe, and I want to let's show a sound of Rand Paul attributing the cause of the rise of ISIS.
ISIS exists and grew stronger because of the hawks in our party who gave arms indiscriminately, and most of those arms were snatched up by ISIS. These hawks also wanted to bomb Assad, which would have made ISIS's job even easier. They created these people.
Did the U.S. create ISIS, Joe?
Well, it's a sort of a strange theory of historical causation. The hawks that he's talking about haven't had a modicum of influence on policy for the last 7 years. I mean, you might as well blame the imperialists who redrew the Middle East after World War I. The truth is, we know where the Islamic State came from. Its predecessor was Al-Qaeda in Iraq. This was the insurgency that was largely defeated in 2007 under General David Petraeus' surge, the Sunni awakening. It kind of survived as a marginal force. And when the U.S. withdrew from Iraq in 2011, AQI filled the vacuum and has come back better armed, more experienced, and more deadly.
As in Syria. I mean, ISIS emerged from the chaos of Syria because we were not willing to arm and train moderate rebels that could have overthrown the Assad regime.
But what is Rand Paul up to here, Brett? He's obviously trying to stand out in the Republican crowd, but is this the best way to get the nomination?
I think it's a bizarre strategy because when you listen to that clip, he sounds awfully like his father. I mean, the suggestion, which is actually morally disgraceful, that the hawks, John McCain, created ISIS, created these people who are beheading us. I mean, what even is a figure of speech? It's unbecoming. But the main problem here is in an era where Americans understand there's a new disorder, this kind of talk will not serve him well.
All right. Thank you all.